Hello, everybody. Okay, so I would like to share with you the main elements that we are working with in Orange to drive IoT. And I will not be talking about the B2C part, so which is like smart home or connected home part. And I will not be talking very much about M2M, so the traditional telco topic, the connectivity. I will try to focus on IoT services, which I think is the main subject. And as was said by Annie, it is the part of digital transformation for many companies, and this is what drives their move. But before I start, maybe if we can think together for 5 seconds, when you talk with your customers, do they talk about IoT or not? Do they talk about digital transformation or not? I suppose if you talk to technical people, they will talk about IoT. If you talk to business people, they will talk about digital transformation, but it would be the same topic. And I think this is something that drives generally the movement in the industries. According to some studies, and there are many studies saying that there is a lot of business in IoT, that everybody is touching somehow IoT. We can see that yes, in maybe during the next year, we will have a lot of businesses already doing something in IoT, which does not necessarily mean the big projects. It could be some POCs. But still, they will be touching IoT, and it will be the part of the digital transformation for them. So we will not be talking to CTOs or CIOs. We will be talking to COOs and those that are trying to change the companies for be more efficient, to do some cost savings, and maybe to change the business model at the end. The other question that usually I get is, so are those projects successful? And here we see that there might be quite different view. Depends on to who you talk to. If it's technical executive, most probably you will get the answer, yes, we are quite successful. Maybe 35% is not very high ratio, but in IT project, big IT projects, it's not that bad. But it's because the technical people consider the success as soon as the project or solution is running. But for business people, it's not enough, so they need to get some value. And that's why the same project might have the different response from the two different stakeholders in the company. And this is what we see very often, especially when we do proof of concepts. This is very interesting for technical people to do it. But for business people, it's not really readable what value they can get. So it's maturing, but it's maturing slowly. And because this is the part of digital transformation, the movement or the maturity of the customers in their transformations defines, I would say defines IoT maturity as such. So faster customers will be, faster we can see the maturation in IoT. The key problem there is technical complexity. I used to say that this is the ecosystem of ecosystems, because we have a software development part, we have the cloud player there, usually we have the hardware project, and then we have the connectivity project. So basically at least 4 projects in one to be able to deliver solution. And this is what creates the problem when we do the projects with the customers. To be able to deliver such projects, you need really different DNAs. So either your company has got the DNA of Decathlete, so you can do all the disciplines. So you can do the device, you can edit the solution, you can integrate solution, or you are able to talk to client as an expert to the domain. But still, there are many different capabilities needed to be able to run the IoT project. And if we put it to the business context, for telco, and I'm talking now from the perspective of telco, the connectivity is just a little part of the business. It's difficult to say what is the ratio for connectivity and IoT services. We used to use that this is 60 times bigger for IoT services than connectivity, but it can be really different number, it can be much more. And this is the main question that we are asking ourselves in telcos. So what we can do more, how we can be more legitimate for IoT services, what we can provide more to our customers to be able to improve their cost efficiency or to deliver their objectives. So, and now this is where the partnerships or collaborations come to the point. So to be able to drive the project with the customer through different DNAs you need to develop the expertise. And even if you sign the partnership with some technology partner or go-to-market partnerships or common marketing or whatever, you have to have the capabilities to run those partnerships efficiently. And this is where you need to have the expertise in all the layers of IoT. And here, I think Orange is very strong and can propose all the partners, big or small, does not matter, very, very nice support to deliver the project. So you can see the numbers, and those are enormous, and those are, let's say, available through the world. So it's not really the one geography where they appear. So how we do partnerships? There are, as IoT generally is very, very fragmented. So there are many different players, and customers are discovering what they can do with it. There are different approaches, and I selected three approaches that I consider interesting or important to succeed in this journey. First one, this is what we call co-innovation, which means we talk to customer, we sign the contract with the customer to innovate together. So it means Orange provides the technology or technological aspects. Orange provides the capacity and expertise on technology. And customers are really trying, testing, and discovering the technologies on their side. So this is what we call co-innovation, because customers are also discovering. The other subject that we call opening new ecosystem, and this is related more to new areas where IoT is not just the subject of telco or the IT companies. There are different players entering it, and I will show you how we try to enter this area. And then there are the partnerships of verticals. By vertical, we mean, for example, smart cities or Industry 4.0. Let's jump to one of the examples of co-innovation. There is the cooperation with National Railways of France, this company called SNCF. And this is not really about trains only, because railways have a nice heritage of the different assets like bridges, viaducts, technology centers, railway stations, a lot of different places where the IoT can take the role. And for this, we agreed that we will try to new technologies with them, and we will organize also the different contributors, I mean the third parties and experts on the different use cases through those three places. And we called it LTM challenge, and there is also the co-innovation contract. And those companies and applications and teams were working on the new applications to digitalize or to transform the way of working of SNCF. So, and this is for me the clear example of a multilateral cooperation that can accelerate maturation of IoT in general, because there are different expertise that are available for the project, and customer can understand more quickly what are the benefits of it. The other examples, and here I have the subject of 5G, is regarding Industry 4.0. We have two partners, or I just selected two partners that I would like to mention, and this is Lacroix and Schneider. Both are electronic companies, and the main subject is to automate or to change the way how the factories are working. Smart factory, on the way how it is organized there. This is the discussion that we have already for some time, but I think that 5G will just accelerate the maturation in this area. Regarding the multilateral cooperations or partnerships, I would like to talk about the LoRa Alliance. This is not really the, let's say, traditional approach for telco to try to open the new ecosystem in connectivity, because we are used to work in let's say licensed spectrums. We have a very let's say stable ecosystem of the partners in telcos, and a lot of standardization. And there is the initiative with LoRa Alliance, which is opening the connectivity in non-licensed spectrum, so it's available and accessible for anybody basically. But this approach brings the different dynamics, because this is open for more actors and the little actors, and we see there that Orange is one of the main promoters, especially in Europe. We have about 500 members, and in recent time, maybe for those that do not know, we have quite interesting newcomers, and those are like Amazon or Alibaba. I would mention those two. So those are not really the telecommunication companies; those are different companies, but having or trying to build their legitimacy in the IoT value chain. And this is where I think the dynamics is different, and it's enriching the capabilities to do the project. Another example is it's, I think, a big cooperation that we foreseen with Siemens. Siemens is already established player on the market, and Orange Business Services as well. So joining those forces and working in Industry 4.0 area together makes perfect sense. And for the customers, it will just simplify the evolution and the transformation on their side. Here, we are focusing very much on energy or automotive sector, where we have already capabilities, and this is also the homeland of Siemens for some time. And my last example is different. So it's the cooperation at local level. So this is Orange Belgium, one of the affiliates of Orange, that is focusing on smart parking solution, and they signed a partnership with company called Communitings, which was the startup. I think today they are scaling quite well, and to understand the reasoning and the motivation. In fact, to have the partnership with startup company, it brings the agility and brings the different behavior to the big company as Orange. So you can really act as a startup in a go-to-market. You can act as a startup when delivering the deals, and the power of Orange and the name of Orange and trust of Orange in customers' eyes just helping to scale. And there is a real symbiosis in it. My next slide is very straight and very clear. So all those what you see, all those examples that you saw are just particular efforts of one operator. I don't know how many people we have from telecommunication company here, but I believe that if we work together as a telecommunication sector, we can bring the different value, or the value to the ecosystem. And for this, we started to talk about the enriched connectivity. So it's not really the data bucket or bucket of SMS or the end-to-end traditional connectivity, but this is enriched with specific elements that telco is perfectly legitimate to deliver. But of course, there are the other players that are taking a role there. And I would mention explicitly the device management part. And we know that security is a very, very discussed subject in IoT. And to ensure, or what we see in the project, the objects or the hardware is the most vulnerable parts today. So to be able to manage devices or lifetime of devices in a secure way, and to ensure that every time it is secured enough, telco with some device management that goes through the different elements, through the different suppliers, through the different standards, can bring very, very specific value. This is how we can enrich the connectivity as such. And the other part is that I call data ingestion. So it's not new term, but this is something that where telco can bring also the DNA that works well, is to ensure that the object and clouds are not only connected, but data are transferred securely and decoded securely. So the telco can ensure, say, more comfort for cloud data, for accessibility to data in cloud, and also for the developers to develop the business applications. And I wanted to share with you this kind of approach where I believe telcos, all the telcos, could bring more value together and accelerate the maturation of IoT business as such. The positioning of Orange in ecosystem is different on the different layers of IoT. So we see that we are traditionally well positioned in connectivity, and we are talking to the customer about the enriched connectivity. So with the data ingestion and device management part, where we have our own assets. This is the platform that we call live objects. And of course, we have a lot of partnerships with device makers for different use cases or different projects that we do with the customers. We are developing the device catalog, which is also accessible for public. And of course, we have the capabilities in integration of the solution to the partners' environment, to the partners' IT systems, and we are able to develop the solutions. But you see that in layers like the business application or application enablement and analytics, it is very much about the partnerships. So you need to really work with the other players to have the right IT DNA in place in the project. Sometimes it's us, sometimes it's partners. But for customers, we can really choose the best option as soon as it comes to it. For partnerships as such, we are running the IoT partnership program, which is called Data When You're Ready. So should you have any question or the need or the willingness to cooperate, just get back to me, and we will organize it in the right way. So to finalize my presentation, I believe that IoT business is already maturing. So there are the proof of concepts, there are the real projects that are scaling. I believe that the cooperation between telcos beyond connectivity on the different layers like enriched connectivity can bring the acceleration in a business as such. And well, any partner that is willing to help or to join the ecosystem of Orange or telcos is welcome. So please contact me. Thank you very much.
Well, Jiri, thank you very much. That was interesting. A lot of information packed in one go. I think our audience hasn't yet had enough coffee, but I have some questions for you. Do you think that you talked about IoT being very fragmented, and there are two things that came into my mind from what you said. And the first is, do you think there will be consolidation, and when do you think that might happen, and do you think that's going to happen quickly, and do you think that's important for IoT to mature, or do you think having lots of startups and lots of things going on is a good thing?
So there will be definitely some consolidation, but I'm not very positive on the time. I think it will take more time than we would like to have. So it will not be next year. It will not be the year after. It will take years until the markets will be consolidated, which on one hand is maybe not good for the big players, but it's very good for developing the new approaches. And this is what is very helpful. So I think it will just take more time than we would like, regarding the maturation of the market. So okay. And that's why the partnerships, and it really drives the different approaches in partnerships on global level or on local level, on different use cases, different verticals. So for this, I think every company that wants to have effective partnerships must be ready with the knowledge, expertise, and capacity to really do it.
Okay, so something that came out of my thinking about the fragmentation, and for the foreseeable future at least, you're going to have many parties that you need to accommodate in ecosystems. I'm thinking about, I mean, you need to get really, I'm sure you're good, but get even better at accommodating them, onboarding them quickly and getting them into the ecosystem. and to work. I mean, it's a whole life cycle thing from onboarding all the way through. And a critical element of that seems to me to be open APIs. And I'm just wondering what you think the state of play is there with the open APIs, and whether they're being widely enough deployed and whether they're helping.
So open APIs, this is just prerequisite to cooperate. So I did not even focus on this subject because I consider this as a prerequisite to be able to develop the partnerships correctly. So, I think in Orange we are quite far in this, and we have nice assets already available for the third parties and partners and collaborations at different layers. So it is also on connectivity layer. This is traditional one that we have, but also on device management and data ingestion part with live objects. You can access the platform right now if you want. And those APIs are completely available for any developer or partner that would like to join the ecosystem of Orange at the moment.
Okay, so you almost didn't feel like open APIs were worth talking about because you clearly see them just as table stakes.
Yeah, so I think there is nothing to talk about. It's really prerequisite for anything, for any partnerships that you want to develop.
Okay, we have a question for someone in our audience, and they ask, what do you see, this is a very big question, I hope you're feeling fired up, what do you see as the main challenges for IoT? I guess you might have quite a big list, I don't know.
The main challenge is the complexity of IoT as such. So I think to be able to cooperate through different ecosystems, to be able to cooperate with hardware makers that just behave in their own, they work in their own ecosystem, with all the application developers that have their own manners of working, and also with cloud providers that have their approach to the market. So to put the glue in between those ecosystems, this is the main challenge. And I think there are the different motivations for everybody in IoT value chain. So as soon as we understand that no one is able to deliver everything on his own, so the collaboration will accelerate. So for me, it's really the complexity of IoT projects as such, from perspective of the supplier, and from perspective of the client. Is the main challenge is to really understand the value that is hidden there. I think we are still not good enough to explain what we can get of it, what customer can get of it, and this is the real challenge.
Okay, and the questioner follows up with will there be a real killer business model in IoT? He says, like we have with mobile apps. I'm not quite sure about that, but what that means. But do you think there's going to be a killer sort of business case or model?
I think the verticals will be maturing differently. So, for example, smart cities might be faster than Industry 4.0, or the particular use cases in smart cities like parking might be faster than the others. So I don't think that we can find one business model for IoT as such, because IoT is too wide to have something that works for everything. But I can imagine working business models per vertical or per use case, where it will be adopted somehow by more customer advance, and we will see some consolidations there. But it will be not one business model for IoT, it's for sure.
Okay, something else I'm really interested in as well, and I'm looking here, Jiri, at your last slide, is the whole notion of telcos being able to offer services beyond their geographical footprint. And I think this is such an immensely powerful idea. I mean, it's if you think about it, telcos were the first global ecosystem. I mean, it's well over 100 years ago, a lot over 100 years ago, since all you needed to do to phone anybody else, anywhere else in the world, who had a phone, was to dial a number. I mean, you know, that was an astonishing development, but we didn't get beyond connectivity, really, until now. And now we're trying to move up the stack, get into services to have that global connectivity and use the infrastructure of others where we need to do that, which is part of the ecosystem thinking. And I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about that and how important that is in IoT, and also how you see that unraveling, or not unraveling, developing, I think is better.
Okay, so generally for telco, it is definitely interesting to provide the IoT services, because the value, as it is claimed by analysts, is much higher than in traditional connectivity. So there are different approaches how we can go beyond the traditional connectivity. So we see a lot of movement around the private networks. So basically, you can create your own network anywhere in the world that will be serving the need and the use case that you have as a client. And for this, you definitely need some project to run. So this is not that easy. The message behind what I tried to put on this code is that as soon as the telcos will understand that the partnerships in industry, in telcos, so not to provide only end-to-end, but also to provide the other capabilities like device management, for example, or the data ingestions, it will provide a big value for the other layers of the industry, and it can be provided as a platform as a service, software as a service. So there are different approaches how we can make it global. And as soon as there is the cooperation between bigger players or tier 1 telcos on this subject, I think it will somehow bring more balance in discussions with cloud players, for example, or with the hardware makers that are already established in this ecosystem. So I believe we have to go beyond connectivity. We have also the GSMA very actively working on this subject, and but we need to put it in life as fast as possible to really accelerate the business as such.
Okay, we have another question from our audience. Obviously, the coffee's hitting the spot now, Jiri. So they ask if, could you please elaborate on the distribution channel partnerships which may be available, such as white labeling for integration projects with customers in Africa, for example?
So regarding the white labeling of partner solutions for providing the Orange assets, of course we are open to this cooperation as soon as there is the business case and we can see the value or the long-term value in this. So it's something that we are definitely open to. I would not say that we go for anything. So we have some verticals that we are more active than the others. And as soon as it comes to the distribution, I suppose it's more related to the hardware part, where of course the footprint of Orange is quite wide in Europe, and in Africa we are very present. And as soon as there is the use case that works for more territories or more geographies in Africa and Europe, we can discuss about the cooperation. So this is how we usually work. And as I said, this is still fragmented. So there are the particular discussions with each partner that approaches us, or the partner that we approach on the business case and the visibility for long-term cooperation.
I just wondered, though, Jiri, whether the white labeling model might be a bit dangerous for operators, because I think we often take connectivity for granted. I mean, we've just all had an extremely sharp lesson of late in how critical connectivity is and how much we rely on it. But I just feel that if you're white labeling and there's no Orange, let's say, brand, I just fear that, you know, you kind of go into invisibility, and the critical role operators play is then not appreciated. You know, out of sight is out of mind almost, you know.
Okay, So in fact, I thought it this differently. So I don't think that it's maybe also good for the customer not to know from whom you get the connectivity, because the trust to the partner or the telco provider is really the asset. And so the white labeling of connectivity, it can be the subject of discussion, but we have already the model that works well. So as you said, you do not even think about the connectivity, if connectivity is working or not. So you just take it as granted. And on white labeling, I thought it differently. So I think what can help a lot the partners that we work with, that they are open to really white label their solution for our partners or our customers. Because as soon as this is the startup, that sometimes the owner of company does not want to give up of his name, of his brand inside, it's slowing down the project. As soon as the partners are open for white labeling and can be the co-marketing basically at the end, it accelerates a lot of all the discussions, and also we can approach the customers much faster and in more consistent way, because there are not too many parties appearing in the projects for the customers.
And I guess for the customer, it's like all the cards are on the table. Everybody's clear about what's going on and who's doing what. And
yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Jiri, I'm sad to say that we've come to the end of our session with you. I'd just like to thank you so much. That was very interesting and very helpful. And for those of you who've asked, Jiri, you're going to make your slide presentation available. Is that okay? For everybody? Yeah. So we'll deal with that, and we'll make sure that people can access to it, which is an accolade to you that people want to do that. So thank you for such a good presentation and for starting off proceedings.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jiri.
Thank you.